That's not in the video, is it?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Teachers on Teachers, the show where we take your favorite teachers and get to know them a little better. I'm your host, Seamus Burke, and today we're brought to you by Miss Nuzzo and Miss V. For those that don't know you guys, may you introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Nuzzo.
I'm Kelly Vanikiotis.
Okay, so we're going to go with our first question. What's your favorite lunch to bring to school?
Oh, I don't know, that's tough. That's if I remember to pack one.
Right? I make a smoothie. I brought a blender in and I just bring my little cup and I blend. That's my favorite.
I usually just bring leftovers from whatever I cooked and just kind of hope for the best.
Running out the door, that's what I do.
I try to cook something the night before and just pack something aside.
Yep.
How do you think your teaching style and experience has evolved over time?
Wow, that's a tough one.
I feel like when you start teaching, you don't really realize what you're signing up for, getting yourself into. And so it's trial and error and a lot of realizing things don't work until you find what does work.
I think a lot of things are based on the kids in front of you too.
Yeah.
Like we both taught middle school.
Oh, yeah, and I was saying earlier how
Right.
teaching middle school and teaching high school, like that, I'm two very different people in those roles.
Right. I think you have to, and sometimes, I've been teaching geometry honors for so many years, like the kids that come in sometimes are different than the other kids, and COVID definitely changed some of that too.
Yeah.
But it all depends on the kids in front of you. You have to kind of adapt to
I
your
feel like
students.
I've grown more flexible over the years too. Like I feel like I used to be very like firm, like it's this is the deadline, and I don't know. I just feel like I've like grown to be more flexible because I feel like life happens. A lot of these kids work jobs and like things you don't realize because that wasn't my reality in high school.
Yeah, that's true. Sports, jobs, everything. But yeah, the kids, it ebbs and flows with the kids. So you kind of have a game plan when you go in, but then you never know. You never know, like, okay, well, that strategy's not working. Sometimes you have to, pivot on the fly. You know what I mean? So depends. All depends on your students.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely middle school, high school difference.
Huge difference.
Okay, as new generations of kids come in, do you find them changing at all, and in what ways?
Yeah.
I think kids are always changing. It's year to year. I think coming back from COVID's been an experience, but the kids are always adapting and changing, and all new social media stuff comes out.
Yeah.
Everything, there's all kinds of environmental changes that happen, so kind of just have to work with that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to find the words to phrase what I'm thinking of. I don't know. I think that I've noticed, at least from now and like a decade ago when I was teaching, that I don't think kids take school as serious anymore. I think that there's been like a lot of kids who just, I don't know, they just don't, it's not as important maybe, and maybe that's just what I'm seeing, but I'm definitely seeing kids that just don't take the schoolwork as seriously.
I'm hoping that changes.
I think that might be a COVID thing too.
COVID thing. I think they're starting to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously always kids that like they're coming because they got one question wrong and they want to bring their grade up, and like there's always those.
Yeah.
But I do think that COVID put some kids in a situation where they're just right now surviving and trying to get through.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, to keep on that topic, what effect did COVID specifically had on kids?
I think that they're so used to being behind the screens and being able to get their work done at their own pace.
Yeah.
I feel like pacing's been something that's come up the past couple of years. The works come in sporadically. We used to have, the work's due on Friday, but then we collect it on Monday, then we collect it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so I think those types of things have kind of, and I think made us more flexible too.
Yeah.
Because kids are still out sick, they're still getting sick, and they're rebounding. There are some positive things that have happened. You know, I have like a collection of videos for kids that are absent, so hopefully they don't fall behind. So there are some things like that. And we post more stuff on
Yeah.
Google Classroom for kids to have more accessibility. So there are pros and cons, but
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I have more resources for kids
Right.
outside the classroom now.
correct.
But I do feel like a con would be there's definitely some gaps in certain topics. So I feel like I spend a lot of time reteaching stuff that isn't previous, like isn't like this current topic, but it's like previous years that we have to go back and visit because COVID kind of has those gaps. It's really hard to teach math from behind a screen and expect kids to learn from behind a screen. Sometimes it's hands-on. Sometimes the kid needs to be sitting there with you, seeing it. So I think that a lot of kids struggled with certain content during COVID because it was remote. Math is just definitely,
A hands-on
Yeah.
subject. You have to practice math to learn math. You can't watch it.
I'm a paper and pencil type of person. So if I had to learn math on a computer and do all my problems on a computer, I don't know how that would, I don't know how I would do that because I do everything out on paper.
Paper, same. Yeah, I do almost everything out on paper.
Yeah.
Practice.
As teachers, do you feel you need to put on a mask when you come into school, or are you the same inside and outside of school?
I think my personality is the same inside and outside. How I treat kids is, you know, how I would expect them to treat me. You know, you give what you know, you get what you give. So
Yeah, I think,
a lot of that is, you know, some stuff obviously is private and not,
Right.
you know, for everybody, but I think pretty much.
I
the
think
same.
personality-wise, I'm the same, but I do think that having kids who attend the school makes it a little bit different because then I have kids over my house or I coach them in sports. So, like Coach or like Richard's mom me is a little bit different than like the Mrs. Nuzzo me just because it's just a whole different environment.
Yep.
I'm not going home and being school teacher Nuzzo. I'm going home and being like mom and Richard's mom.
Yep. And I'll be next year, so Andrew's in 8th grade. So next year, all those kids that I've known since
Yep.
preschool,
They're all coming up.
I'll have them in class. So that will be
Yeah.
that'll be your next episode, Seamus.
Yeah.
What have you found is your favorite course to teach over the years?
Mine's geometry honors. I love geometry.
That's tough. I do. So like years ago when I taught in Revere, I taught a course called Advanced Mathematical Decision Making, and it was for seniors, and it was just all real world application of math.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, so it was like a class that they weren't really going like the pre-calc route or just they wanted like something different from that. It was a different route and it was all sort of project based. Like we did things on like, I taught them about like mortgages and like student loans and like their bills, like here's a budget, like how can we, like this is your salary, like let's pick a job, let's pick this. And like we just did a lot of like hands-on like real world things with math, and I think a lot of them really just got a lot out of that before leaving and going to college because a lot of them did not understand how loans worked, they didn't understand how bills worked. So I think that that was a really fun class to teach because it was really meaningful to a lot of them.
Yeah, we do a little bit of that in FST right before they graduate.
Yeah.
So we do that, you know, concept of I'm going either to college or getting a job. So what do I
Yeah, and like
what do I do with my money? How do I manage it? Like how do I, you know, should I put some money aside?
yeah, we
And
talked about taxes and like paychecks and like how like if you make say $20 an hour, you're not actually taking home $20 an hour, so you can't count on having that.
Right, and can I afford that new car I want to buy?
Yeah.
And, you know, can I get an apartment or do I need to save up? And how much should I have in my savings account before doing all that stuff?
Yep.
And, you know, just kind of run numbers, and it's definitely eye-opening.
Yeah, a lot of them don't realize, like, I'd have kids that wanted to go to schools that were, you know, $60,000, $70,000 a year. They didn't understand how student loans worked. They didn't really understand that, you know, you also have to pay like rent or a mortgage. You have to pay electric, cable, water. Like, there's all of these expenses that add in. So, I don't know, it was really good because I think a lot of them that would not have realized that on their own before they went out to the real world, like did, and it was good that they realized it sooner than like.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. What effect do you think social media has had on kids today?
See, I have mixed feelings about that because I personally like social media, but I'm also an adult who I think like understands like the appropriateness and how to use it. I think social media is really good for some kids because I think it's really informative. I personally learn a lot on social media. I learn different recipes. Like, it can be really great for those things. But I also think that it's negative because too many kids are spending too much time on it. They care way too much about popularity. They're tearing each other down on it. It's causing a lot of drama in friend groups that, you know, when I was in high school, that wasn't like a thing. You didn't go on the internet and start bashing each other. And I feel like, so sometimes it has that negative impact. So I think that there's pros to it, but I also think that it's harmful as well.
I agree. I just think that in some ways, they're just too young to understand the gravity of the fact that when you post something on the internet,
it's there.
Kind of there forever. So, and we went to the middle school Homeland Security presentation, and that was really enlightening. So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these kids don't realize that colleges are looking at their social media as well. And I've seen stories on the internet of kids losing scholarships because of old videos that resurfaced and things they've said.
I've heard that too,
Yeah, so that's just like
So
yeah. My kids aren't allowed social media right now.
I have a 7th and 8th grader who don't have it.
Yeah, my 6th grader doesn't, and I don't have like a timeline on when he can have it.
They haven't asked, so I haven't had to,
Well, see, Richard's like, oh, my friends have TikTok, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not your friend's mom.
Yeah.
You're not having one. But he doesn't push it. He just will mention it once in a while, bring it up, and he knows I'm going to say no, and then he lets it go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I, too, don't have it, like I said. And we just, like I said, went to that Homeland Security presentation, and when we got home, I'm like, we said that they don't, but, so we grabbed their phones, because they showed us how to go through their phones and where to look for certain things, so we went through their phones. I'm like, nope, they don't. It looks like.
I don't even think Richard wants it. I think it's the idea that his friends have it.
Yeah.
That it's like a missing out thing, but I don't think he cares.
Yeah, my boys don't right now.
Later
they will, maybe when Andrew goes into high school.
Yeah.
They will. I don't know. He hasn't said anything, so.
I think that as long as I tell him he can play Fortnite, he'll be happy.
Correct. Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox.
Yeah.
Yes.
To keep it on this topic, what age do you think kids should get their first phone?
We said in our house, I think it's different for every family.
Yes.
So before I say my opinion, I just want to make that clear. People come from different situations where, their youngest, they have young ones at the elementary school, but they also might have like a 6th grader that needs to go pick up their young ones, or a 5th grader. I think it's up to the family. I don't think there's any wrong decisions when it comes to that. I think that parents have to make that choice as to how and why they're giving their child a phone. But I think overall it's up to the parents, and I think given whatever circumstances they're under, they have to.
Do your boys have phones?
They do.
Yeah.
Yep, both the boys have phones.
Yeah, me and my husband didn't want to give Richard a phone, but he was, I think, 10, and he kept going out with his friends, and he was going over other people's houses, or he was walking after school, and I just was not comfortable with not being able to reach him. If he was going over someone's house, I don't want to have to call the mom. Like, I want to be able to check in on him, or if he was walking after school, I want his location so I can make sure he's safe. So one of our things, and that was our thing with that phone, though. Like, it's not for social media. It's not at all for that. It's so that if you're out, we can get a hold of you, or like if God forbid you're out and you need something happens, you have a phone. But Richard goes to school every day, and he puts his phone in his backpack and turns it off. Like, he doesn't even use it during school. So I think that we made like at least decent boundaries with him. Like, this is why you have the phone. And I agree, like every family's different. So whatever age they think is appropriate. I just know in our house, like, his phone is not for entertainment. His phone is for like us being able to communicate with him and getting a hold of him. So that's kind of what we made sure we prioritized when we got him one.
Yeah, same. That was why, walking home was super scary. I didn't want them to not have a way to get in touch with us.
Yeah, and he's like, some days after school, like if he doesn't want to stay when I'm staying, he's like, oh, well, me and my friends are going to walk to the courts and play basketball.
Correct, yeah.
It's like, that's great. So I just want to make sure, like,
I know you are, and you're safe, and
Do you find developing connections with kids can help improve their ability to work and learn?
Of course.
yes, absolutely.
100%. If kids know that you care, they will work.
I 1,000% agree. Like, I've had kids who I've been like told are typically like more difficult, and then I've had a conversation with them and, you know, got to know them, and they're great to work with. Like,
Perfect. Yeah.
like I just,
Same.
yeah. I don't think every kid who doesn't do work is because like there's like a bad kid. I think some of them just need that connection and need that like understanding that like, okay, like I'm not here to fail. Like she wants me to pass. Like,
Right. And it's always, you know, you have a fresh start when you walk in the door.
Yep.
So, you know, I don't talk to past teachers. I don't,
right.
you know, I make up my own mind. You have a clean slate. I always say that.
And they need to
So-
hear that too. Some of them,
Yeah.
they really need to be told like, hey, this is like a new class, new teacher. Like
Right.
this is your, like, you have a chance here. Like,
fresh start. Yeah. And if you're struggling, reach out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Let me know. But I think a lot too, I try to make sure that I walk around the room like every class and just kind of check in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With all the kids, making sure they're okay. Some kids are having a bad day, so
Yep.
you don't push it, you just move on. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Okay, maybe we'll do this tomorrow, and then we'll circle back to it. But you got to know their boundaries too.
absolutely.
So we're going to shift topics to less serious ones now. If a zombie apocalypse suddenly
God.
began tomorrow, what would you do?
I'd get in my car and go to my land in New Hampshire. And
Fine.
live in a tent.
Yeah, that's
Not gracefully though.
that's a tough one. I don't.
I'll pick you up on the way.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be in that situation. Okay, I'm gonna opt to that. I don't want to be put in that situation.
That's scary. No.
That's like my worst nightmare. Like of things to fear, like that's up there. Like I know it sounds like it could never happen, but like what if it did? What if it did?
Which is why he's asking.
Yes, just gonna pretend it's not gonna happen.
What is the dumbest thing you did as kids?
Oh God. See, I didn't have social media, so
Yeah, like there's no evidence.
no evidence. I have no idea. That's a good question.
And it also depends what you mean as kids. Like, is there an age range? Because like there's a few different stories I can think of, depending how old we're talking.
I don't even know what I would say there. I got nothing. I was a perfect angel.
I plead the fifth.
You gotta answer the question. We ask this to everyone.
I don't know. I don't know
Okay, I have a couple that come to mind, but I guess I'll share the first. When I was in high school, I was either a freshman or sophomore because I didn't have my license yet, and my birthday's in May, so I was like, got my license late. I wanted to sneak out of my house. My parents had like some serious alarm system, and the alarm code was near the door, and it was in their room. So if I tried to shut the alarm off, they could hear it in their room. So I couldn't. However, my window was not wired into the alarm because my room was always hot, so my window was open. My bedroom was on the second floor, so I used to pop the screen out, and I would dangle myself out the window and jump out. And then my friend lived down the street, so we would go to her house after and walk down the street with the ladder, come back and put the ladder up to the window so I could crawl back in. I only got caught once, and that's only because my friend fell asleep and my sister wouldn't open the door for me. So I had to call my mom and tell her to let me in at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was kind of stupid. In hindsight, the jump that I made, that was a far jump from the second floor of a house, is really stupid. Into the bushes.
I think it just helps like managing your kids now.
Oh yeah, like they can't do anything that I've never tried. They can't. I know. And in high school, I was voted teacher's worst nightmare. So like I know all the tricks. I know all the things. So I don't think
That's
they
what
can.
my husband always says. He's like, there's nothing they're gonna,
Yeah.
you know, put past me that I haven't tried or
Yep.
or have heard about.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Okay, that's going to wrap it up for this episode
Awesome.
of Teachers on Teachers. Thank you for joining us. And before we go, is there anything our guests would like to say?
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. All right, next question. That's not in the video, is it?
Oh, it is.
Oh, great. Yay.
These are
Sorry,
every
Mom.
single one of them.